Hello, hello. How are you this September 6th, 2024? You know, I've told y'all this before, but I remember being in maybe seventh grade and having the teacher have us figure out how old we would be in the year 2000. And I remember figuring it out and thinking, oh my gosh, I'll be old. And here it is now, 24 years later. But as they say, I'm happy to be here, and that's worth celebrating. And isn't that the important part? My eyes just saw Betty Middleton and Cheryl Hogan. This is great. I love seeing y'all. I hope everybody's getting excited about voting. We should have a contest to see who's the first person in our group who votes. So I didn't drink enough this morning. And I've got to be good for my little kidney. I must be good for her. So it's good to be here. I'm trying to take a deep breath and know, yep, I'm here. So yesterday was my granddaughter's 20th birthday. I have a 20-year-old granddaughter, and her mother's going to be 46 later this month. I remember being 46, and wasn't it just yesterday? So it is so good to see you. I'm doing really well, feeling good. I hope y'all are. And finally got caught up with my sleep. Hold on one second. I've got a little fan down here on the floor. It was freezing me out. My feet were getting so cold. So yesterday, it was so much fun. We had a Saturday morning chat. And you know what was so nice is I know I get to read what you say here, but it was so nice to hear voices and see people, and Joni and Bonnie and Debbie and Joe, Miss Joe. Oh gosh, there was someone else, but it was so nice to see all of you. So I think we're going to try to do that more often if we can, because I get to sit quietly and sew. I don't have to talk, and it's a lot of fun. I think every once in a while they were like, Don, and you voted last Monday. Yay. So right now, I think Pat was the first person, one of our members. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry, Cheryl, about your cousin passing. That's the hardest part, I think, about aging. If I allow myself, I can get really sad realizing that all the people I grew up with have passed. So I'm just so sorry. That is the hardest thing. So let me see who's here. But I definitely would like to do some more chats. And especially if I can just listen to y'all. In fact, Joni, if she shows up today, or Joe Sows will tell you too, that my brain was turned off. I was like, I didn't have any words on. Now, it doesn't make it easier that I woke up 15 minutes before we did the chat, but my brain was totally turned off. All right, let's see who is here. So, okay, so Marsha, first person. Hi, Marsha. Joe Sows, our two moderators, on the ball. That's wonderful. There's our Mary, and I hope she's feeling better, that sweetheart. If Debbie Holt comes in, I did not get her latest pictures she sent, so y'all let me know, because I'll go looking and to see her pictures. And oh my goodness, those of you who weren't at the chat, she showed us her Storm at Sea. She did it all by paper piece. It's gorgeous, absolutely beautiful. So soon I'll have a picture of that for you. Okay, so Mary, Pat, Betty Middleton, Cheryl Hogan. Oh, the hurricanes, I know. And I'm going to be real careful watching. I'm hoping another one's not going to hit Florida or the beach this coming up weekend. So watch out. I think his name is Milton. So we had Helene and now Milton. But I tell you what, if you ever consider giving to help people, there are a lot. I mean, this time we had 6 states who were hit by Helene. And I know my state, oh my gosh, Mark and I were very generous because Asheville will never be the same. There were certain towns, Blowing Rock, that just disappeared. I think it was Blowing Rock. I should say unless, because you know how I get confused sometimes with words. But there are places that will never be the same. They just kind of got wiped off the map. And so keep them in mind, please. So let me see. Oh, Cheryl Hogan already voted. Okay, so right now we have a tie between Pat and Cheryl. Wonderful. Our early voting is October 17th. I did not want to do a mail-in ballot because I want to be in person to put that vote to make sure that it gets counted, because in my mind, this is the most important election I've ever voted in. And that's saying a lot because my first election was right after Nixon resigned. So it's saying a lot, but this is important. In fact, I'm going to make a video to put on the channel about voting. And not everybody might be pleased with it, but it's weighing heavy on me, and I'm going to talk about what it means to me. And as a person who's marched on Washington, D.C. several times, and my daughters have, and I've always been busy and involved in elections, and so I'm going to speak my piece. But right now I'm gathering my information and my thoughts so I can be coherent, because that is important. But anyway, let's keep going back down the list. Don't get involved in a squirrel hunt, Deb. Okay, so Crystal, hello. Oh, your sister lives an hour from Nashville. Hon, I'm so sorry. And welcome to our group, but we'll be thinking about her. Gosh. So, oh yes, Miss Marcia. Oh yes. You nailed it right on the head. So, what happened to Betty? Do you have some friends? Oh, goodness gracious. So I tell you what, it's been a tough week. And I thought we've got to give. And it's funny, I've always been into paying it forward and helping out when I can. And it's nice at this stage to be able to do that, because not everyone is able to do it. But when I asked Mark, I had a figure in my mind and he doubled what I was thinking. So I went with it. I thought, you know what? They're going to need everything they can get. And bless FEMA and the government. They're doing such a good job. People have to realize this is a tough thing. And in places like North Carolina, some of these people are totally cut off. I-40 washed out. I mean, at least one half of I-40, all the lanes going a certain direction. The Blue Ridge Parkway, this is fall. This is peak time. It's closed. So please understand. But FEMA, everyone is doing their very, very best. And Kamala was actually there helping fill bags, baggies with essential, soap and all of that. And, they're doing the best they can. And yes, people are helping, and everyone always complains that not enough. This is this is really tough, and it's massive. Normally we might have Florida or Texas, but now we have 6 states. So it is a tough thing. But anyway, but no, everybody wants those people to be safe as they can be. Oh, let me make sure I got to the bottom of the list. I think I did. So I am so happy to see all of you. So yesterday, um, and I'm going to talk about this more in a moment, but yesterday, one of the members said she's in a funk. She just can't quite get excited about creating. And I said, I have been, and I know that Miss Polly on here has said she is. And I think that August is a tough month. And this year, because it was still so warm in a lot of the country, September kind of got a little funky. So I don't know about y'all, but I'm ready for the first frost. Well, almost. But I think some 60s and 70s without excessive humidity would be a joy. But anyway, but I was down here and I was working on another project while we were chatting. And then when I was cleaning up stuff to get ready to go upstairs, Mark was down here still working. So I was complaining to the ladies who were there that right now this undersea quilt is just stressful to me. I'm just not into it. And so I'm going to have to take it a little slower while I try to get the excitement back. And there's one part that I am, oh, you're so right, Pat. I mean, they used to say Asheville was in a kind of climate bubble. They were kind of exempt from the terrible climate change problems so many other places have. Who in the world thinks up in the mountains, far from the coast, would ever get hit by a powerful hurricane? So it's taken everyone by surprise. No one knew exactly how bad it was going to be. But anyway, I stayed down here and I said, you know what? I talked about touching up the paint on the background that I made for the undersea quilt. And at first, I used the Jacquard dye paints. They're very thin, and I really liked it. But I was having a problem getting the depth of color because I only have a sampler pack. So I pulled out some of my acrylics, and then I pulled out my fabric medium, which if you take acrylics, I like to thin the acrylics with water and fabric medium. You can paint on fabric. The difference between that and the Jacquard dye-like paints is that the acrylics will change the feel, called the hand of the fabric. Acrylic paint will change that feel. But for an art quilt or a wall hanging, it doesn't matter because I don't think many people go around touching them. Not unless they have real chicken feathers, which I have done before. But anyway, here is what I have now. And so I just kind of sat down here and painted and painted. And I think I like it better. It's got a little more color in it. And I like the fact that it's kind of almost a little milky, so to speak. So it kind of makes it look like you can see through layers of water. So here this is. Now, once I got the background to a better shade, then what I'm going to do is to take my ink tints, take some of my fabric markers that have like a brush tip, and I'm going to paint with ink tints and permanent fabric markers. I'm going to fill in the background and paint in the background. So what I've got to do, this is one of my things. It's like, okay, I want to do this quilt because there's one part I'm going to put on it that I'm so excited about doing, and it's going to be something new for me. And anything new always gets me excited because honestly, sometimes I have a certain attention span, and with something like this, that attention span gets really stressed. I'm sorry I'm looking over. For some reason today, I'm having a hard time keeping my train of thought long enough. But what I've got to do to make this quilt work, I was looking at my agenda. I have to write this now. I refer to this all the time. But I wish I could do it, hey, that's what I need. I need teleprompters. So, but what I've decided to do, because everyone was saying, if you want to put that aside, yesterday when we had our chat, and I thought, no, some people are trying to keep up with this, and I've been lax so far because I just have not been able to push myself past this creative block that I've got going. And all the while that this is going on, I see other things and think, ooh, that would be cool. Ooh, that would be cool. So this is the one that I'm having my biggest problem with. In fact, I'll show you what I've done more on that. I'm not having any problem with that color wash. I love that color wash. I cannot tell you how much I love it. And someone yesterday was talking about how they're kind of tired of doing precision traditional quilting where everything has to be cut just right and sewn just right and all the seams have to match and the points have to show. I know exactly what they mean. There's Debbie. Oh, yesterday was such fun. And guess what, Debbie? I could not find the photos you sent me. I couldn't find them. So I wrote you a quick email and said, send them to me. I'll still show them. So if you want to send them to ourtimetoquilt@twc.com or whatever email you've got for me, go ahead and I'll check it before we do show and tell. But don't do it if it's going to stress you. Hi, Miss Jody. Yes, you poor thing. It was awful. 60-mile-an-hour winds. And understand, she's in Ohio? Did I get that right, Miss Jody, or is it Illinois? I always get confused between those two. I don't know why. For me, it was like I used to always get confused between Gregory Peck and Cary Grant. Go figure. Go figure. And Robert Mitchum and Burt Lancaster. Always got them confused. Okay, Ohio. Woo, okay, good. But I mean, really think about that. In fact, Jody sent a picture of a tree that had come down in her yard. And so, this was quite a hurricane. So, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan out instead of usually when I do a landscape, I maybe have a little bit of an idea, but I kind of go with it. Well, when I get kind of stuck like I am with this one, I'm going to have to do some planning. So luckily I have a folder full of images that I called because they had something in them I like. And I'm going to sit down with my fabric markers and my ink tints, and I'm going to lay it out on the fabric. And if you want, at first, you can use a heat erasable pen or a moisture erasable or a pencil and just do it lightly. Or pardon me, sometimes when I start talking, I talk so fast after being quiet so much of the time that then I get hiccups. I apologize. And so I'm just going to work it out and really take the time to decide what I want and where. I think once I block it and know what I want to make, it'll kind of, it's like a stopped up pipe. And if I can just get that pipe cleaned out, maybe it'll start to flow. I'm not promising it's going to work, but I think right now that's my best. It's like when you have a job to do and you're not looking forward to it. Usually, if you start with one thing, say, I'm going to spend a half an hour and get one thing done. Usually, once I get started, it's inertia that I have a problem with. But once I get started, hopefully. There you are, our Polly. So I'm talking more about my slump that I'm in. So now here are some more things because I sat there and just wrote some things down. I've heard other people at different times talk about what do you do when you have an artistic block, creative block. Writers have it, art, all kinds of artists. Sure, fabric artists have it too. And I've heard some people say you just have to start something and make yourself and push on through. Well, maybe that works for people who have a deadline, who have an art show coming up or book deadline or whatever. But I can't just do that. Pat's having a slump too. There's Nancy Lynn. Yeah, thank you, Nancy. We were talking about that earlier. What a mess. So I said, well, what do I think that would work for me? Because I was in a slump earlier this summer. That's one of the reasons I said, I've got to clean this space. That will help. Well, it does, but not quite. Now, I like Marcia's. She said, pick a favorite project. That is a good idea. Here are some other things that I've thought. What to do when you feel like you are stuck in a rut. My thought is maybe you need to take a break and step back and do something else you enjoy that's different than your creativity, like reading or journaling or watching a movie you've wanted to watch and haven't had time. Um, I'm thinking it can maybe mean that you've lost touch. You're not taking care of yourself. Maybe you've lost touch with that inner self. Joe says she stepped back. And oh, Joe, you're so cute. She stepped back and baked bread. Now, that's another really good idea. And baking bread is one of those things that feeds your soul as well as your body. So that is a great idea. It says, I wrote down, you might need some me time. Turn off the news. hmm hmm Listen to music you love. It's amazing if you enjoy any type of music. Music can really lift your spirits. Um, I said take a nap just because you can. Just whatever you want to do. Go see a movie. For me, movies were always the thing I did to give myself some me time. I'll have to see if there are you know, any good movies right now out there. But that would be good just for the popcorn. There's nothing like movie theater popcorn. Take a slow walk around your neighborhood and notice the changing season. This morning I was outside early for me, and just smelling what the morning air smelled like and kind of listening. And it was like the world getting going. And I thought, wow, that's a new experience because normally I sleep till 10 or 11 and I was out earlier than that. And so that was different. And you know what? It kind of turned on my senses just a little. And that was nice. That was nice. Then I said, take the time you need to feed your soul. Your quilts will be waiting when you're ready to come back to them. And you'll do a better job when you do come back to them. So I'm hoping maybe some of those things might help because this one's been a hard one. Since I've been doing the show, I haven't really had that many artistic blocks, but right now I am. And I think one of the reasons I love this color wash quilt so much is because I just sit and relax and work on it. There is no pattern as such. There's no special sizes, that everything the finished block has a special size. But I just pick up little scraps and put them on. And sometimes I start out near the heart with a piece of fabric that's so tiny it surprises even me. Let me see if I can find one of those little tiny fabrics. Whoops. Let me figure. There. See above that heart? That that piece of fabric right there above that heart is not even a half an inch deep. So sometimes I don't know, just being able, pardon me, just being able to work on that. I get in there, put on a good show or most likely a good audiobook, and I just go to town. And I'm loving it. And in fact, what's going to make me sad is I only have one, two, three, four. I do now 4-piece rows. I only have 6 more of those to go. So it's kind of sad in a way because I've really enjoyed it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll have to find, I love the rainbow, but I could do pastels. I could just pick colors of the scraps I have the most of. Maybe that would be a really good idea. So blue would figure in there and purple, but we'll see. But I love that thing. And soon as I get those 6 rows done, I'm going to slap that puppy on the quilt frame and I'm going to quilt it because I want that hanging up. That quilt has my heart in it. I love it that much. So I worked on that, and I was going to tell you when I'm working on that, that is my Zen time, and I love it. So I'm hoping to get it finished this week and on the quilt frame. Okay, and how I'm going to quilt it, I have not a clue, but I'm sort of leaning. You know how that there's supposed to be, and in it there is a pattern of color coming down from that corner, coming down and swirling up and over. I may quilt lines that reinforce that swirl. We will see. We will see. This week I did work on um, the bobbin lace pillow. And one thing I'm finding, I think there's another woman doing a bookmark very similar to what I'm doing. I might switch over to her. This woman has a very low voice, and I've got a hearing deficit. So it's really hard for me to follow her. And I'm finding I'm getting a little confused. And so she's just got a very quiet voice. So I may have to switch over to the other woman. And, so if you ever think I'm talking too loudly, it's because I have a hearing problem and I know there are others. And for me personally, I've been to sites where I'm really interested in what they're doing, but they're so far from their microphone, I can't hear them. And I then turn them off because it's too frustrating not to be able to hear. So use your volume if I'm too loud for you. I had one cutie pie lady say, I watch you on time and a half. Like she speeds me up because being Southern, I speak slowly. And she speeds me up. And she said, I'm able to enjoy it and understand you perfectly. I thought that was so cute. I said, you know what? If it works for you, way to go. Way to go. All right. So I did the hand painting on the back, doing the background. And this week I'm going to try to work on putting my details in. So hopefully by next weekend, it's going to look a lot better. And then I'll have a little more direction of how many fish do I want? Where do I want to put the different things? And that would be really important to me right now. Okay. But I did make some progress on the bobbin lace. I'm still loving it. In fact, someone told me yesterday, just get it done quilts, Karen Brown. Evidently, she went on a trip and she saw some women or a woman making bobbin lace. And I haven't gone to the site yet. Potential spam. Sorry. Um, so, what was I going to say? That, hold on. It's coming back. I can see it coming around the corner. But, what was I talking about? Now I don't know. Something like that'll just, but, oh, you're so cute. Oh, well, Crystal, please feel free to come back anytime. We enjoyed seeing you, darling. Take good care, hon. So, okay. I don't know what I was talking about, but maybe I'll find it again. I always try to say, well, if it was important, hopefully I'll remember it again. Okay. So, I was upstairs this week and I was working on the Colorwash quilt. And I looked down into my trash can, and my trash can was so beautiful. And so I thought, aha, I think it's time. I think it is time to make a confetti quilt. Well, let me close part of this window. It is starting to shine on me. That makes it hard for me to concentrate right there. Okay. So, but I looked in the trash can and all the little bits from trimming up the blocks. And so I said, time for a confetti quilt. So yesterday, after we talked, ladies, yesterday I ended up coming back down, grabbing some fabric and making a fat tree. So Debbie, tell husband that I also make fat trees. So Debbie's husband made a tree. Debbie's husband made a tree for her because he said, your trees are always too fat. So all I did was take one of my ombres. This was one of a different ombre, and this was an ombre. And I said, let the fabric do the work for you. So this is what we're going to work on today. And I'm also going to do some thread painting and on it. But it's just a quick and easy project. And I think that you will like it. All right. Now I'm going to show you a couple of ways. What is a confetti quilt and how do you make it? That's what I'm here to show you. So let me put this back up so I don't lose it. All right. We're going to come over here. A confetti quilt. And Mark was like, what is a confetti quilt? And I said a confetti. Oh, Mary saying, you were saying you just got done quilt song. Oh. Saw somebody working on. Oh, yes. Just get it done quilts with Karen Brown. She goes to see a group of lace makers. And Joni was I think it was Joni that was telling me this. And she said that the ladies just do it as a hobby now because you can't sell it for anything. With machine-made laces out there so much cheaper, and the amount of time it takes. It doesn't take that much in the way of material, thread, but the time. And I said, absolutely. Or I've seen some ladies who will take and frame it and then sell it as a framed work of art. But no, I said, yeah, the reason I wanted to learn bobbin lace was because I get worried about the hand arts that start to go out of style. And when that happens, if they're lost, that's it. They're lost. So that's why I know how to do Dorset buttons, which was a way that women in England made their money, and women, farmers, and even men would make the buttons. And it's a way to take a round piece of horn bone, just a ring, and fill in the center. I'm sorry. I'm ironing. You probably can't see, but I'm over here ironing this tree that I made. All right. Now, you notice I have a piece of steamacine too. I'll show you what that's for. I also have some Beau Nash fusible Fuse-It powder. And I learned this by watching Alex Anderson, and she had a show on it. And it's a powder that you shake onto the fabric, and then when you put your iron and iron it, it will fuse it in place. So let me move that. Then I also brought different shades of tulle. Here is a bright white, and this is a little bit shiny. You might want to, think about the fact that it is shiny, because you may want to find some that's more matte finished. Like, I think this is a matte finished white. No, that still might be shiny. But then I have a light gray and a darker gray. And most of these I don't usually buy. People want to get rid of them. They get them, they buy them for whatever reason, and they want to get rid of them. So now what I'm going to do is take out, this is just out of the trash can. But if you think you're going to want to save these little fabrics, don't put a banana in the trash can with them. I went to pull them out of that little trash can, and my hand hit a couple days old partial banana. I was like, ew. All right, so you put them on the cutting board, and then you just run your rotary cutter over them, going in different directions. You want to get them small, maybe a quarter of an inch square. It's not good to have them too big, but you don't want to turn them to dust. So use some thoughtfulness as you're cutting these up. Okay, because if they're too small, you kind of lose the feeling of color. But everybody has scraps, and if you don't have scraps that you can make these with, then turn your fabric into a scrap. Cut a hunk off and go to town. And I'm going to leave the little bits of thread in there. That's fine. It will just add more texture. So now I'm going to grab some more out. And this is supposed to be a tree in the fall. So the colors would be greens, yellows. You could even use browns, orange, red. I wish I did have some brown. I don't see any sitting right here, but brown would be a nice touch. Although, if you want it bright, browns will definitely make the scene more somber. But this is kind of fun. Now, some of you might have done something like this, because for a while people were making dog beds for the shelters. And instead of using batting, they were taking and cutting this fabric up into lots of little pieces like this. But that's one thing, sometimes I think I miss being a part of a group, but sometimes I'm glad I don't have the pressure of doing the latest fad activity. So, because I felt bad that I wasn't making dog beds for shelters, but I have 3 dogs of my own. So I got my own shelter here. And they're lucky that they get their teeth brushed and get groomed, right? So, but anyway. But boy, you can feel guilty if you're in a group and they're doing some great big project, and oh, please. But I'm glad they have those offered because they're usually always very worthy. And it's a nice way of doing something you love and helping others. All right. I work hard to make sure I don't sign on to too much. Whoa. Now, I should have seen that coming. Okay. That wasn't too bad. But I sometimes look at my stash and my UFOs and think, I'm going to be lucky if I get half of what I've got done. But so just make a little pile that's easy to manage. I'm going to bring you in just a little closer. Okay. Let's come in a little closer. And main thing is I just start. This is why I don't put too much. Let me pull some of this out. Sometimes it's easier to work with smaller amounts. But just run over them like this. And even if I had a bigger mat, when you get too big of a pile, it tends to push the fabric rather than cut it. So, okay. All right. So this past weekend, I must have had 6 tangerines. And Mark said, Hon, you're going to turn into one. You're eating so many. And I said, well, because I don't like them when they're cold. My teeth are too sensitive. But if you leave a bag on the counter, you kind of got to eat them pretty quickly so they don't go bad. So I figured my vitamin C is up nice and high. Maybe that's why I'm feeling so much better. All right, I think I'm going to start with this. But now you see where it gets the name confetti. And of it's a great way of doing leaves for a tree. Um, Anything that you want to cover a larger area. If I see some of the big pieces, I'll just cut them a little smaller. Or if I don't want to stop again, I can just put them back on the to be cut pile. All right, so I'm going to move some things out of the way that I don't need now and close my blade. All right. I always wondered what I would do if one of those famous quilt ladies that would charge you a quarter or a dollar every time you failed to close your cutter. I always thought there was a chance that maybe I wouldn't handle it well. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you both ways to adhere this, or 3 ways really. So I'm going to start with the leaves that maybe have piled up around the base of the tree. And so I've put this yellow side down because I want to remember what I'm working with. And I'm going to just kind of do an area like this. Let me see. I'm going to actually bring this in. That's going out too far. I don't, I just want it to kind of come around the tree like this. Yeah, if I have it go back that far, by using perspective, the leaves would have had to have gone out 30 feet or more. So this is good. All right. So now I'm going to take my paper scissors. I'm going to cut this out. Like this. And the reason I'm using this form for here is because um, this is a more contained area. It's not so big. I'm going to use the powder for up in this part of the tree. Okay. So just kind of cut it out, having it be imperfect. But I'll show you what I mean about keeping the perspective of where you put the leaf line. All right. So cut it out in a relatively natural shape. And what I'm going to do is tear off the back paper. Oops. Making sure that the sticky part is stuck to this front one. Come on. Yay. You just have to use your fingernail and make sure that the sticky fibers stick to the front instead of the back. Okay. So here we go like this. All right. So I take and lay this on, and this is supposed to be, put the leaves on that are around the base of the tree. Then I go ahead and press, not too much, but enough to get it stuck down. And then what I'm going to do is lift the top paper off, just like that. Pretty simple, pretty simple. Okay. Now I'm going to get my confetti. And I'm not going to use many of the greens. The greens are going to still mostly be for the tree. So when I can grab a green out, I will. But I'm not going to be too overdone with it. I'm not going to get carried away. And you pretty much just line these up with the outline of the fusible that's down there. Look, here's something. But it just so happened I've been working on yellows and oranges for my color wash quilt, so it made this perfect. And to me, it's one of the very best uses of the confetti technique. Whoops, sorry, didn't mean to bump the camera with my head, my big old head. All right, let's see. And you also might want to take and turn some of the, like that brilliant red, turn it facing up so you really get a chance to see the pretty color. And make sure you've got enough that you've covered all of the fusible. All right, so that's looking pretty. Look, nope, I didn't put enough down here. Let me grab a little more. The reason I'm saying don't use much green is the green leaves are still going to be stuck to the tree. Now, some of you might be botanically minded and saying, well, but only certain trees have certain color leaves in the fall. But this is my environment and I can do what I want. And I am quite a believer in biology. I loved biological science when I was going to school. But this is going to be my own special little world. And I'm going to do it the way I want. All right. So I think I pretty much, the main thing is to cover all of the fusible that's on the fabric. All right. Okay. Okay. That looks good. Now I take my Teflon or silicone sheet, whichever you're using, and I'm going to cover this. Make sure my iron is, let me see, 1, 2, 3. Let me let my iron cover up in just a second. Let my iron warm up. Okay. Whoop. That piece is a wee bit big. But it's kind of good if the colors are all evenly dispersed. But see now, by the shape I did, it looks like a pile of leaves at the base of the tree. And what I can do, of course, leaves wouldn't fall in one neat pile, but I'll come in and maybe hand glue them around. Okay? So, iron, are you done, iron? I love the cordless iron, but I always have to remember to turn it on in time. Okay. Yep, it's done. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to give this a pretty good iron because I have to get the heat to go through all the confetti into the fusible. And what I'm going to do now is very carefully take this and turn it over and iron from the back just to make sure that fusible really did get to the right temperature. And then after I do this, um I do understand. I understand his point of view. He sounds so much like my Mark. Now, it's okay for some of these to fall off. Now, I can see right here that there's some sticky. So if they are too loose, I'll just move them over a touch and just do a quick touch-up ironing. But if any of them fall off, that's absolutely fine. Now, if they're well ironed on, which these are seeming to be for the most part, then what I can do is I can take them to the sewing machine and just do a invisible stitch zigzag over them. Okay? So, but that looks pretty good. It seems to be staying. That's pretty good. Now, if you wanted to, you could take some of this tulle. Let me cut off a hunk of this. Tulle is so inexpensive. And it's always a good thing. It's one of those like Angelina fibers that if you can go in with a friend and buy a couple yards and divide it up, because you don't need that much. You won't even use it that often. But it's a great way on art quilts to show distance, to show fog, to show rain, whatever it is. And so then what you do, you see how you put that over? Now it dulls it down a little. It truly does. And you can try different colors of it. But if you wanted to do this, what you would do is lay it and pin it around, the edge, and then come in with a zigzag of invisible thread and zigzag around the edges and in here too. And that way it traps it and holds it. So let's say you don't have two-sided fusible like Steam Machine 2. You can use this, pin it in place, and just zigzag around it with a matching thread or invisible thread. So there we have now. That's one method, or actually two. That would be two methods of how to get your confetti. Now, understand this is doing pretty good. I would still come in with invisible thread and do some zigzags around. So most of it is firmly attached. Now, the benefit of confetti is doing the top of this tree. And yes, Debbie, my tree is a bit fat. I do love plump things, and which makes sense looking at me. But what I am going to do is, if this is all the taller the tree is, yeah, that'd be too wide. But I'm going to make it look taller. Okay, because I only put branches where I know there'll be spaces to see them. So, okay, now let me see this. Try a sample of material first. Use dry iron on hot setting. Okay. Protect the heat of the iron, especially from delicate fabrics. Blow away all excess surface powder before heat is applied. So what I'm going to go ahead and carefully, and this is called Beau Nash Fuse It powder. I had a tricky time finding it. I think I got it from a Ben Franklin's, and but I'm going to carefully put this fusible powder where in the area that I'm going to have the leaves. Okay. Here and up here, up here. And I want to tell you this. I'm going to bring them down here a little, bring it down here a little, but put it on pretty good. Whoops, I was kind of coming in here too much. All right, now, when you're shaking this, if it gets out beyond where you want it, then just gently push it back where you want it. Now, if it has patches where it's just piled up, then just very gently, very gently move it around with your finger. Okay, let me put a little more over here, go closer to the edge. And what I'm going to do is, okay, I've put the first base down, but then after I put the fabric down, I'm going to come back with that and I'm going to shake a little additional. Boy, did I miss this puppy. And this one too. But this is not that bad. Just go back and just give them a few little cuts. They were partially cut, just not fully. And one of the reasons is this is a selvage. So now, when you do this, it's really tricky to just put the leaves where you need them. I mean, these are leaves. That just put them just where you need them. So don't worry. If they don't stick, you can reuse them again or put them back in your project bowl for the next time. But just kind of try to spread them where you know you've shaken the powder on. And it's good to leave some holes and gaps because that's how trees normally are, especially if you want to show your pretty branches. I mean, hey. So just if you have an area like all this red happened to be in one little area, then just mix it around. And this is my happy tree. Thank you, Bob Ross. So I can put anything I want on it, any colors I want. Now, if you're worried about that, you could put several different trunks. So then you pretend that it's all these different kinds of trees. Okay, now I might have, maybe I should have put a little bit of fusible powder. We have got the coolest tools to do our job now. What fun. Okay, I'm just going to spread this out just a wee bit. And come along and make sure to push the little bits up under the leaves. Or take the fabric like that and kind of make the leaves go in just a little. And this is where cut up more than you think you're going to use because I could almost use more. Okay, but just take your time, spread them around, see if you've got enough. One thing I had a lot of fun using when I did the color wash was using pieces of strip sets I had made for different projects. It was a great way to add numerous colors with one swoop. All right, let's see. Oops, this is too big. And like I say, it's a good time to look through and see if you have pieces that need to be cut up. It's not, you don't have to have everything the same size, but sometimes big pieces just start to look a little odd. All right, that's pretty good. I don't know. What do y'all think? Is that close enough? All right. So now I'm going to lay this sheet over it. Okay. Come in here and press. The nice thing now, you can, if you have a can of spray adhesive, you can use that. The only problem is you would have to do it outside or in a well ventilated area. And since I have asthma, I try never to use it because I get very sensitive with chemicals. All right, now what I'm going to try to do. Oh, I meant to spread. You know what? We didn't end up with too many. I was thinking I could spread some more. Let me get this up and see if I have how many are coming loose. I meant to put a little bit of the powder in the layers. So not just first on the fabric. Yeah, see some of, oh, you know what? This came up because it didn't get fully ironed down. All right, so let me put some of these. Yeah, I can see this did not get well ironed. What I'm going to do, just carefully, is just put a light sprinkling. Just a light sprinkle over the top. Okay. Then I'm going to come back in. Hmm. Now, my tree is looking a little too regular. It's looking a little too coloring book, but that's okay because I can put finishing touches by just a little bit of my um, tacky glue or school glue. School glue takes longer to dry to really get sticky, but it's a lot cheaper than a tacky glue. But it just depends on what you have. All right, so now I tried to do a better job of pressing it. I'm not going to lift the sheet up though, because what I want to do is carefully. They even mentioned you may want to put one of these sheets underneath of it because sometimes it will kind of melt through the fabric and make it a little sticky on your surface. But I don't think I got too much through it. It feels pretty good. I don't feel any drag on the iron. If I started feeling drag on the iron, I would worry that I'm getting it all over my sole plate. But I don't think I am. So just making sure. I like to iron it from both sides just to make sure. Okay. Well, let me turn it over. Oh, you know what? I do think I have to wait for a minute for this. It can be washed, tumble dried, or dry cleaned after fully set for 1 hour. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you a couple other things and leave this to fully set. So the powder is not as quick as the Steam-A-Seam 2, but that's okay. So now I'm going to let this sit because if I try to pull it off too soon, it will stick to this as well as the fabric. All right. Well, that was fun. I really enjoyed that. I want to do more of that kind of stuff. But just think of how easy it would be to create a little Halloween scene, a little house and leaves and different things. And I still have a good handful of this left. So that way I can use it to fill in, make it look a little more natural, and apply heat. But I'm so glad it said here to let it set for a while. We can do that. It was 2 ounces. I love the fact that it bonds the fabric, no sewing, and iron and done. And once it's set, you could wash it, dry clean it, whatever. That's really cool. All right. So now I'll put some of this out of the way here. I wanted to show you what things I've been working on. I told you I had done some more of the bobbin lace. Let me get my camera adjusted just a touch. All right. Move it out here. I am making a kind of, it's not a poncho because it's going to be open in the front, but it's just going to be a very loosely formed kind of garment. And so I'm making 3 squares. And the 3 squares, I don't know how she puts them together. I haven't read that far. But here is the first triangle. I am enjoying it. There is something comforting about crocheting because for the most part you do the same stitch for enough length of time that you can relax and not have to think about it. Turn my brain off, watch a really good British spy show or mystery. But I love this. What you're doing, I'm doing a half double crochet. Yeah, half double crochet. And I do one time I do it under the stitch before it. Then when I turn around that row, I use the back stitch of the stitch only. And by doing that, it gives, see the texture? The rows kind of, one sticks out, one sticks in, and just gives that extra texture. So I think it's really pretty and it's really simple. And if you're like me, and I think my triangle's not too bad. I think it looks pretty, it's pretty smooth. This is the edge right along here. And this is only my second pattern I've ever followed because I used to just make it up as I went along. And this is the size, it's a 6mm hook that I'm using. And I like it. I didn't want it too thick or too tightly done because I tend to get very warm easily. So, yeah, thank you, Mary. See, I don't even know the language for all of this. But one of them went through the whole thing, then the other one just went through the back part of the loop. So, that was pretty good. Oh, the northern flickers. Oh my gosh, you won't believe this. One time I raised a northern flicker baby. And it was so funny. Oh, Miss Mary, sometimes, so I knew it was a woodpecker, but I hadn't thought. And this baby was laying on the ground and it had no feathers at all. And I waited and watched and waited to watch to see if the parent were coming back. Then I realized the flies had been laying eggs on it and they were starting to hatch on the poor thing. So I carried it in and removed all of the maggots. And then I set up a cage and I put in a perch. And I came back and the poor little thing was hanging like this on the perch. I was like, woodpecker. So I put the perch standing up and it was so happy. But I didn't know how to take care of a northern flicker. And this was back before internet days. And it was a weekend. So I went and gathered a bunch of ants. I put a little sugar in a baby food jar and a little bit of water and put it, and would get ants and come bring them in and put them in the freezer to kill them. And then I would take dog food, soft dog food. I would go find worms and fruit and all of this. And I would whir it in my blender that I used later for other things. And then I would take and feed it on a popsicle stick. And wouldn't you know, the thing lived. And not only did it live, but I was able in the next week. Oh, I even added some chicken noodle soup. I said, chicken noodle soup is good for everyone. So, but then I called the next week and was given permission to continue to raise it and given more suggestions about feeding it. And the thing ended up growing up and getting all of its feathers. The only thing, though, is that when you would hold it on your shoulder, you had to be careful because any dark space, eyes, nose, mouth, ears, they wanted to peck in and see what was in there. I was like, no. And then finally, I put it out on the back deck and stopped hand feeding it, put food in different places in its cage to try to teach it, you got to go look for the food. And then after it stayed out a couple days, then I opened the door. It's like, when you're ready to go, and it flew off and we never saw it again. But what that you talking about the northern flickers, that is such a sweet thing. So, and he was very attached because he could fly to me like, I'm hungry. But I think I ended up getting some mealworms and stuff. But this is what I'm working on for my mosaic tile floor quilt. And it's from a book. And this floor was seen in Sicily. And the book is Bella Bella Sampler Quilts. And it is by, hold on, Nora McMeeking. McMeeking. Or Mecking. And I'll show you. Let me take out my pile of stuff. I'll show you the quilt I'm working on. I was taking a week of a retreat to myself a few weeks ago. And let me see. Here it is. And I didn't get that far, but well, maybe you could say I did. But here is the quilt I'm doing. I love this quilt. The only problem is I like more color. And if you can see the inspiration real mosaic floor tile they used, it had plenty of color. Light blue, dark blue, gold, burgundy, black, and white. So what I'm doing right now are the 4 circle medallions. And each one is different. And I wanted to tell y'all too that this book doesn't give exact instructions. It has some charts and it has some words, but it's not like a normal pattern. Okay? And yes, I did. I wanted to show you. I don't know if this is going to have one of the circle medallions on it. But this is supposed to be the pattern page. But it doesn't give you instructions on how to cut it apart or when or what. It just has, this doesn't even have. Now this one, it shows you how to do the paper piecing. Although, I'm not sure. They'll have trace accurately. I don't know. But some of them, it has the whole circle design. Let me see if this other one has it. It has the whole circle. And so when you start working on it, you think, well, you look and you try to pick what you think is a piece that you should work on. Well, not always does it work out that way. Now let me see. I think this one might have, yes. Let me show you. All right. It has this wonderful pattern. But where and how do you divide that up? You cannot do paper piecing on one solid thing like that. So I tried dividing it up and it didn't quite work. Because when you're doing paper piecing, you have to stitch it right sides together and then flip it, iron it, then put your next piece on right sides together. So you're always kind of getting a tucked in edge. Well, when I started working on this yesterday, it didn't work like that. So I'll show you what I did to deal with it. I'm not saying be afraid of doing this. I'm just saying having experience helps, asking someone else helps, or just kind of going with your hunch. So I knew that these pieces, that was easy. Okay, these are supposed to be separate. But I didn't know where or how or if I should cut these apart. Now, yeah, because there's a B here, there's B's up here, there's an A here, there's an A there. It's like, what? It's kind of tricky. Maybe I was supposed to just do this part. I don't know. And maybe this was supposed to be separate. I'm not sure. But what I ended up doing was just cutting along the line here. Because this is where I realized, oop, there's a problem. I cannot keep going out this way because how do you sew it here and at the same time sew it there? You can't. So there's an order to paper piecing you have to follow. So what I did is open, these seams were open. Then I put them, so like, see how all these are tucked in? These had to be open. And then I had to carefully stitch it together. So no, I don't, I'm thinking that maybe this was supposed to be one piece and this is supposed to be another piece. So I can still do that, I guess. Yeah, because I could put tape on the back of this or on the front and just take it off right there. But it's not made clear, or at least I haven't seen where it's made clear. But I think it's going to be really pretty. I think it's nice. So this is what I worked on yesterday while we were chatting. Here's the pieces I cut out of it. So this is that, and I just wanted to show you. But I like it so much better now that I'm able to add more color. And that's a good thing because we always think that these people just liked very washed out, mellow colors. Oh, no, they didn't. If they could get a bright color, they used it. Just like Colonial Williamsburg used to always show these very muted colors. Well, that was because they burned candles and the soot got on them. And, that's what that was about. Now, I'm going to try. Let me see. Some of it might just come off. I can always re-iron it. Yeah. Some of it's coming off. And I can always put more. And see, this lost more than the fusible. And let me see. If I give this a little shake. No, it seems like what didn't come off on the sheet did pretty good. Okay. So I'm definitely going to want to go back and fill in more. I kind of like how thick this was. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is cut up more of the scraps of this. I'm going to cut up more of the scraps of this. And then, whoops, let me get my camera right. Okay. I'm going to cut up more of the scraps. And then I'm going to put more of the powder. And then put more of the scraps. And I might bring it out and kind of make the shape a little better. Maybe put in a little more leaves here and there around here. Or you can always put a layer of tulle and stitch it down, whichever way. Okay. So we will get this done. Yep. And Polly, I've told him that next Sunday we are, well, I don't know if I actually told y'all yet. I don't think I did. Next Sunday, we are going to make our thread vessels, our thread pots, thread baskets. What, I wonder what Polly calls them. But yeah, you can put the tulle over it and then stitch around the edges. And then I would kind of go in and kind of make leaf shape stitches and see how that does. So there are 3 ways to do confetti quilting. You decide. Now, there's also, you can use a fusible thread. I'm not sure how that would work. I haven't tried it, so I can't recommend it. But there's a thread that you can sew with that then you iron and it fuses whatever it's sewn through. But I'm not going to try that one myself. I think that might not work the best. So, okay, I think, but anybody who's here that has done it or wants to do it, or has heard about it or read about it, feel free to give your advice. This is not a class. This is just us getting together. And anytime you can fill in the blanks or correct, you are very welcome to correct me, because you might have experience in something that I don't have. And the main thing for me is that everyone here gets the best information possible. And that's the most important. So, okay, now let me just peek real quick. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I might end up putting the tulle over it. I just kind of like it, the full brightness, but honestly, the tulle would be so much easier. And you just have to pin it really well so that when you're sewing, you can sew without it catching or folding or getting difficult in some way. I'm going up there. It is. Thank you, Debbie, for sending the pictures, hon. And I told them your oh, that's right. Oh, wait, there's ladies, you wait until you see. Wait until you see. Oh, I wanted to kind of, oh, here we go. I want to try something real quick before I save this. One of the things, if any of you have antiques, linens and things from your grandmothers or great grandmothers, wait till you see what Debbie did with it. And it just, to me, is all the sweeter because husband got involved too. And honestly, Debbie, now looking at it again, um, it is very stylish. It's very elegant, and with the lace, it's even prettier. So, darn it. Don't you hate when they're right? But I'm saving this in Debbie's folder because you've got to see this. It is so pretty. Okay, so I got that one saved, and I just did a little um closing in of part of it because I wanted you to be able to see the design really well. This one, I'm just going to save, and then I'll come back. Come on. Oh, that's so pretty. Thank you, Debbie. I'm sorry you had to do it twice. I just couldn't find it. So I thought, I don't know how that happened, but somehow I didn't. I looked in the trash email, and looked in spam, could not find it. All right. Okay. I got Debbie's pictures. It was 2, I believe. And how wonderful. Oh, so All right. So let me double check. I'm pretty sure. Yep. All right. I can close this out. Come on. There we go. All right. Oh, Mary, I just saw one of your comments. That was so sweet. Okay. Now, let's go to show and tell. All right. And I'm going to once again show you my inspiration photos. Consider it my research that I do so that because I'm more of a copycat than creating it out of whole cloth, if that makes sense. I'm an ex. If I see it, I'm a little monkey. I can recreate it, but I'm not always good at coming up with it just out of thin air. All right. So let's see what we've got. Let's go to show and tell. All right. Alberta. Oh, yes. This was her newest baby quilt. Alberta really gets stuff done. Isn't that amazing? And her quilting is lovely. Way to go, Miss Alberta. I love it. Okay, very good. And if someone sees Charlene, please let me know that she's okay. I just worry. I haven't heard from her. I sent her an email. I sent an email to Jeannie. She's fine. She answered back. It missed her. Oh, this is Anne Lewandowski's that I found that I wasn't sure if I'd shown enough, and they were so pretty. But look at that. What a talented woman. Beautiful watercolors. Beautiful. Okay. In fact, y'all won't believe this, but I ordered some frames because I told Mark I'm kind of feeling like I want to do some painting again. And I haven't painted for 18 years. So, but isn't that beautiful? This is watercolor and hand embroidery from Miss B from England. Love, love, love it. All right. And Betty. And I want to show you her wonderful heart quilt. And I love it. Look at this. Isn't that the cutest fish? This is Betty Meisner. We have a Betty Middleton. We love our Bettys. I love this pod art. So I would love to try making a pod myself, especially if you get the right fabric. I tell you what, right fabric does it all. Okay, now Miss Bonnie. Miss Bonnie met with us and we talked with her yesterday. But I want to show you. She took a bag and decided to make it a bag that she can take to a group that she belongs to. And I love this. I think she did an outstanding job. So, you don't have to make it all the way from scratch. Just turn it into something you would like. Okay. And here are some of the things she's been working on a dragon, her table runner, and her hexies. And I love the fussy cutting she did of her hexies. Here's her table runner finished. I love that. Then here is a hot off the press new additions to her black work. She is excellent at black work, let me tell you. She's amazing. And look at this. Is this cute? This block will be going out to someone in her um a club exchange club she belongs to. Isn't that wonderful? I love that. So it was fun seeing Miss Bonnie yesterday. And then now I've forgotten what this is, but it's a block for something. I don't know if it's for exchange or what. And this is a box she made for her hexies to stay in. Isn't that a great idea? I love that. Here's another progress on her hexies. All right, I think I got, whoops, let me close this. Yes, that was pretty good. Although she does, I'll show this one more thing. I love her assortment. These are frame taxis, which I think are awesome. So she must have fabric on the back that wraps around to the front, and then she hand sews them down. That's really pretty. All right, thank you, Miss Bonnie. Let's see who we have now. I'm going to show this just for our Charlene, and y'all let me know if you see her or hear from her, because poor thing, she had a rough time with a hurricane that hit a couple years ago, and oh, I keep thinking Mark and I want to move towards the coast. Although I guess if you can get hit by a hurricane in Asheville, North Carolina, you could get hit anywhere. But okay, are you ready for Miss Debbie Holtz? These are amazing. I'm going to start off with this one. This is her husband did the tree shape, and I think it's very elegant. I love now looking at it. It fits perfectly with the doilies. And these are doilies made by her family members that she's collected over the years. And look at that. Isn't it beautiful? So if you've had hand crochet or tatting or lace doilies sitting in a box, please consider taking them out and putting them on something that you can look at every day and remember the love and time that your relatives passed down. Isn't that beautiful? It's like having a part of them back. So, Debbie, I'm very impressed. And y'all think about if you have stuff like this that you could make something to enjoy from. And then look at this. This is her storm at sea, and I love it. I never would have thought about green, but it's beautiful. Isn't that wonderful? And I love the four patch of the squares and the squares. So she did it paper piece. I'm very impressed. Way to go, Miss Debbie. Ah, that's wonderful. That is just wonderful. Oops, okay. Now, let's see where we're going now. All right. And then our poor Miss Jody. Ah, first they had the tractor held hostage by ground bees, those nasty little yellow jackets. And then Helene dropped 60-mile-an-hour winds on them and a tree or two. Look at that. I think that they need a break. They really do need a break. So I'm sorry, Miss Jody. And don't forget to go to Miss Jody's channel called Quilt Squirrel. And I love her shows. I look forward to them. It's like I'm sitting there having a chat with Miss Jody. All right, Miss Julie. She's so talented. I'm so glad that she has joined our group. Oh, speaking of someone who joined our group, um, Elaine in Scotland tried to join us for our live chat and couldn't figure out how to get in the room. So I want to, um, you know what I'm just noticing? Miss Betty Boop has her leg awfully close to that muffler. She better be careful. Mark burned his leg on his about a month ago, and he still has a scar. Be careful. But look at this. Isn't that beautiful? Mm-mm-mm. But I want to see what we can do to help Miss Elaine get in to our chat, because I don't know if anybody can help. But if Miss Elaine watches this, I want to tell her to go to our actual groups IO. Hopefully she has already joined. If not, I'll invite her again. Um, but go to our actual group and it's pinned right at the top of the messages list. So she just clicks on messages and then go click on the link that's listed there and follow the instructions. Sometimes it says you want to like join it or whatever. It did that to me the other day and I just said join it with my Google account. But it's called Jitsi and there's a link and you just click on it. These are Miss Mary's English paper piecing blocks and a new quilt. And I want to commend our Miss Mary for teaching a brand new quilter. And that's wonderful. You know, quilting, um, 50, 70 years ago was considered a dying art. The people who quilted for necessity looked on it as embarrassing because it meant that they were too poor to buy blankets or bedding. And so they put their needles down. And thank goodness for the people who said, no, we want to save quilting. But look at this. Is this beautiful or what? Way to go. And thank you, Miss Mary, for teaching a new person because we don't ever want quilting to be a dying art. All right. And that's why I'm going to teach myself tatting if it's the last thing I do. Now, we've got some wonderful pictures of Miss Melanie. And if she watches this at some point, I owe her an email and I promise I'm going to get her one this week. I promise. I miss chatting with Miss Melanie. There is her little willow going for when you have legs that are only 6 inches long. Sometimes you need a little help taking a long walk. Isn't she beautiful? She is the luckiest dog in the whole world. And then here are some blocks that she's working on. In fact, I've seen that fabric before. I love that fabric. Oh, I love these flowered star blocks. I'm wondering, this is this by any chance a Deb Tucker? I'm wondering. But those are lovely. Thank you, Melanie, for sharing them with us. And like I said, I owe you an email and I promise to give you one. And just want to show you two pictures from Miss Melton. And when I get some new ones from her, I'm going to share them with you. But this was from her vacation on the beach. There's her puppy. And look at that. Is that beautiful? I mean, Turkey must be extraordinary. How beautiful is that? All right. So we thinking of you, Miss Melton. We love you. Hope you'll come back. I know you must be busy. Don't feel badly. I always worry when I tell people we miss them that they'll think I'm giving them a reproach, but it's not that. It's just letting them know we're thinking of them. This is Miss Mitty. Look at how she has hand decorated this quilt, this little postcard quilt, and the beads and everything. I love that. And I love the iridescent fabric down here. Beautiful. Some of these things, I mean, this shows you can take a small piece of fabric and make a design or get a piece of fabric with a design and go to town with embellishment. I love her daisies, her delphiniums, and look at this beautiful baby's breath. A lot of French knots there. I'm going to get better at French knots. And then look at this wonderful dandelion. Oh, I love it. Beautiful, beautiful job. Okay, so thank you, Miss Mitty. And just a reminder, if you have any work that you have new, please send it to me and we will put you in our next show and tell. This is what we're going to make next week. And I'm sure Miss Polly answered whether it's called a thread basket, a thread vase, a thread vessel. But if you have yarn, if you have scraps of threads, if you have ribbons, if you have scrap fabrics, whatever you want. And then if you can get a hold of some soluble interfacing like you would do embroidery, machine embroidery on. And she's coming over here to show me. And then Sunday, I'm going to show you what she has done. And I'm going to take plenty of pictures of her work so that I can show you the expert doing it as well. But isn't that lovely? That's wonderful. Okay, so that's from Miss Polly. Come back next Sunday, and you too can learn how to make a wonderful work of art. All right, let me get you back over here. And I think I covered everything, but just in case, I'm going to grab. Let me turn my light back on. Boy, is that sun bright out there today. Okay, I talked about the color wash quilt, the bobbin lace progress. I showed you my Italian mosaic floor quilt. Oh, and Polly, remind me when you come over to give you those two things. Undersea landscape, I showed you how I hand painted the background. Next week, I hope to have the background, really fleshed out, ready to add some actual applique works to. I'm going to sketch the ideas of everything I want in the quilt and then try to use ink tints and fabric markers, permanent fabric markers, and draw in some of my landforms and even and seaweeds, and even I haven't come back to y'all yet. Oops, all of a sudden I looked up and said, oh, I need to see them. Okay. How do I get this? All right, there we go. Oh, you don't have a name for it? We'll make up something really fancy. So, okay. So, I talked about what to do if you have the creative blahs, because a number of us have had it this summer. I went outside today and looked at how overgrown and out of control my garden is. It was a tough summer. I don't know if y'all remember, but we had so much heat, and here we had so much humidity. And I'm sorry, I just didn't feel like I could handle working outside in that kind of weather. So we'll catch up. Might take us a while. But all right. I think I have said everything I came prepared to say. And I want y'all to have a really good week. Oh, do you have any questions? Oh, the fabric painting and all that is so wonderful. Oh, uh, I am glad that Debbie, that he liked me, Jim, that he liked me complimenting his tree because it was pretty elegant, I have to say. I tend to go for realism. He went for style. Hey, you can't beat a man with style. So now I want to see him make his own quilt. But everyone, take good care of yourself and do something special. Shut out the world. It'll help you get your mojo back. And we can't solve everything. So I have learned not to take on so much because if I can't change it, it's just going to take away the part of me that I want to create with. Because, it's not a dress rehearsal. This is the only life you get. And I want to create. I've worked too hard over the years not to take every moment that I want to create and do. So, but, got to balance it with hammock time, a good book, a good movie, something like that. So take good care of yourselves. Thank you for spending this time with me, and I will see you next Sunday. And don't forget about Nancy Lynn has a channel, and don't forget about our Jody who has a channel. Oh, and Jeannie has one too. And oh, intelligent learner is her handle, but I'm trying to remember what. I will make sure I have it written down for next week. But I'm so proud of our ladies for branching out. Take good care of yourself. This week I'm starting to go outside and walk. It's cool enough now. I got to get out there and walk. Take good care. Yes, please keep Florida, Georgia, North Carolina close to your heart. South Carolina had some bad too. So keep them close to your heart. Bye bye, everybody. Have a great week. See you next week. Bye bye.